We are back. Thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadi. Robert Mboye is the lawmaker representing Kadhiani constituency. Peter Kihongi is the lawmaker representing Kangema constituency. Fred Okango is the Secretary Political Affairs Azimio Coalition. And David Ochieng is the Ugenya Member of Parliament and a member of the Budget Committee of the National Assembly. All right, so gentlemen, let's now flip our attention to what has been also developing and this becoming synonymous with the presidencies in this country, and in relation to the apparent fallout between the president and the deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. And this is what some lawmakers, including among them the leader of the majority party, Kimani Ichung'wah, said during a church service.
That viper on your hand, Your Excellency, the viper, the snake in your government, please shake it off. Shake it off, Your Excellency. Shake it off, not for your own sake so that it doesn't bite you. Shake off the snake on your hand so that your hand may do what the Lord purposed that hand to do.
Fred.
Thank you. Shake it off. But before I go to the shake it off, I wanted to just finish something on the issue of Masengeli. You see, Masengeli is a state officer. And there's some responsibility of leadership that he must exercise. The action of disobeying court orders is not part of it. In fact, he has demonstrated that the public trust that he has been given by this constitution and the people of Kenya, he has not conducted himself in a manner that has brought respect to the people of Kenya, and respect to the constitution, and respect to the office that he holds as an acting IG. And therefore, I think what Honorable Cheng is saying, if we were in a democracy that respects the rule of law, a democracy that people are conscious about themselves, then today, Parliament would have sat and removed Masengeli.
All right.
Number two, I have listened to my good friend, Honorable Ichung'wah, several times. In fact, I took keen interest on that day. And I asked myself, who was he referring to? The media has said before that maybe he was referring to the deputy president. You know, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, as the deputy president, was once a stalwart ally of President Ruto. If you recall when he was, during the inauguration, his statement, he said he's a truthful man, he was bold, and he called off the previous regime and said he will not be ashamed to speak like that in the presence of foreigners and dignitaries. And he did it. And for a very long time, he has done this, but recently, he's becoming isolated. He's becoming isolated because of 6 reasons that I want to highlight today.
Okay, briefly.
Number one, there's tension within government. That tension within government is coming from the very ruling party that he belongs to. And therefore, he is an unwanted man. Number two, there's public discontent. Public discontent in a manner in which Honorable Rigathi Gachagua has conducted himself. Right from the time he told us that this is a shares government, and it's only those who have shares that will benefit. Then there's been the issue of high cost of living, that people believe that he is a principal assistant to the president. He should assist the president in lowering the cost of living. He has not. He's campaigning. Number three, the broad-based arrangement is actually a threat to him. And if you look at his body language, he behaves in a manner that he thinks that he's being kicked out. And therefore, he's likely to do certain things that will put him at loggerheads with his own allies. And number four, there's strained relationship with most of his allies. When 46, 48 members of parliament went and endorsed Professor Kithure Kindiki as their link between the people and the government, and while the self-styled truthful man kingpin of Mount Kenya is there, then he tells you that he doesn't relate well with some of his people. And lastly, the ethnic and regional politics. We are a political country, and we only have a few years for the next election. People are already starting to realign. There have been talks when he does his interviews, Rigathi Gachagua, that maybe there are people who want to impeach him. Okay? And those talks has made him think that now probably the best thing he can do is to start looking at the next formation. is he really going to be the running mate to William Ruto, or is he going to run as a kingpin of Mount Kenya?
Thank you.
We want to remind the Deputy President that is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, not Deputy President of the Republic of Mount Kenya. He took oath of office and affirmation of execution of the function of that office. What we expect as the people, we expect service delivery. The President pleaded with him in the last, indirectly though, in the last Sunday. And he said that people should stop these politics. As a member of the public, our expectation is that today, the people who are suffering, the young people who are jobless, the mamamboga boda boda that the government promised to rescue their lives, today are suffering. They cannot entertain any discontent, any fights politically by omission or submission in the nature that Rigathi Gachagua want to put it.
All right.
And we ask
him,
with all due respect, we ask him as our Deputy President that today let him demonstrate that he is also part of a government that promised to deliver to the people of Kenya.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Peter Kihungi, were you part of the team that was in Nyandarua?
No.
You were not?
Yeah, I was not invited in that meeting.
Is it then safe or right to assume that you support the Deputy President's cause?
No, I think, yeah, I can say yes. I can say yes, first of all, because from the onset, as Mount Kenya leaders, and mostly before the 2022 elections, we gave the president a free will to pick the person he wants to be his running mate. Even if he went for Kindiki, Mount Kenya were ready to vote for him. Therefore, he had the free will to pick the person that he feels can be able to assist him. But the other tones that were in Mount Kenya, we still needed a strong man, because we knew Ruto is also a very strong person. If we get somebody who is not maybe even strong, or somebody who cannot be able to confront him or challenge him, we felt somehow we might not be represented well as Mount Kenya. Therefore, Gachagua was the best choice for Mount Kenya. Yeah, and it's up to now, the residents and voters of Mount Kenya feel Gachagua is the right person. Therefore, the differences between Gachagua and the leadership and whoever, for the locals, they still start with Gachagua. They feel he's the person, and they still support him. And I think what's happening is that it has been always like that. You remember Kibaki, when he was vice president, he was being fought also by people from Mount Kenya. There was one person who became vice president, Josephat Karanja. And you can remember how it happened on him. Therefore, according to me, is that the Kenya Kwanza government, I think the fight between itself is the one that will destroy this administration. Because we have no time to concentrate on issues of delivery, on the promises we made to our people. There are no perfect matches. You will never get somebody who will be extremely perfect. Even if we remove Gachagua and we put another one, they will not have a perfect match. Everybody will have his own weaknesses. Therefore, the most important thing is that we should train ourselves to coexist together with the people with the different difficult ways of living, mostly for the sake of our people. Therefore, that meeting for Nyandarua, I don't know, the aspect of saying that they have put the person that now will be the link between Mount Kenya and the executive and the president is Kindiki, it will not work. Because the residents of Mount Kenya are not ready now to change Gachagua. They just want him to maybe the president, whoever, to try and work with him. That's the honest opinion.
All right. You mentioned the case of President Mwai Kibaki and Josephat Karanja and the other vice presidents. At least for now, it's safe to assume that Gachagua has the constitutional immunity because he cannot be dismissed, going by the willy-nilly dismissal of vice presidents by majorly President Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. But when you speak to the deputy president, does it tell you the specific reasons as to why there is friction at the presidency, and what is the cause of all these differences that is playing out in public?
One thing I know is that the president himself, I think he was ready to work with Gachagua. But there are other people from central Kenya. Where there is power, there's always competition of the person who is very close to power. Therefore, it's felt that Gachagua is the next person who is very close to power. But the other players, even who are not elected, who are allowed the power, who are able to control the systems, that's a case of power. Even in my constituency, everywhere, there is that competition. And the most important thing is the key person is to manage the interests. It started a long time ago, because even before the Gen Z, you can remember still it's as if the deputy president, somehow there were undertones that the deputy president is isolated, he's not able to meet the president. There was a case of Dede, whereby people used to say that the bride guy who the president worked, who is very close, if you want anything, is Dede, but Dede in his wisdom, he has risen to the ground, and I think he doesn't want to be part of this confrontation because it could have affected his career, and he's a smart guy. Therefore, the deputy president doesn't come out clearly. He has openly, even whenever you sit with him, he's trying to hide the differences between him and the president. But outrightly, you can see there is that strained relationship. Okay. Therefore, for me, I could still feel, I think the president should still give a dialogue an opportunity. They try to see how they can mend the fences, because time is running. Okay. And we have not done a lot. We need to do a lot, mostly to deliver to our people. Okay. And therefore, the issue of his removal, I think, is not a priority for this government. All right. Yeah.
Honorable Robert Mbui, is it by any surprise that, all right, first, let's take this soundbite from the president, and he called on his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, to stop the early campaigns, and this was a church service at the deputy president's backyard in Nyeri County that Rigathi did not attend. Apparently, he was in the neighbor county of Kirinyaga County. This is what the head of state said.
Tafadhali, tupunguze mambo ya 2027. Huko 2027, ni Mungu na wananchi ndio wataamua. Lakini sasa tuko na miaka mitatu. Hii miaka mitatu haitakuwa tu ya kupanga vile utashinda tena 2027. Kwani mtu anachaguliwa tu, akichaguliwa siku hiyo hiyo anaanza tena kupanga vile atashinda uchaguzi hiyo ingine.
Honorable Robert Mbui, is it a case of President William Ruto advising Deputy President William Ruto?
Correct.
Thank you. Actually, that's what I was going to say, because I mean, listening to him, it's comical, because you know, after the elections of 2017, William Ruto went on the streets. In fact, the reason Uhuru said anatangatanga is because he was out there already campaigning immediately after the election. And I think where the problem is that, you know, William Ruto as deputy president used his cronies, including people like Rigiji, now deputy president, to insult the former president Uhuru Kenyatta for 5 years. And they went all over the country, traversed the whole country, and insulted Uhuru and pretended that he was still a good man, but the others, his cronies, were the ones against the president. And that is what led him to end up being in the office where he is. I think he's scared of getting a dose of his own medicine. That is why he's running scared now. But let me say that I think members of parliament need to stop being used to cause divisions within leadership. Because, you know, Ruto used members of parliament to insult Uhuru for 5 years. I've seen that already he's using members of parliament to fight his deputy. And also the deputy president has a team that is defending him. I would say deputy president's team is only defensive. But there is a lot of offensive talk from the team that is around the president. And I think it's not healthy for the country. When you switch on your TV and you're sitting with your small children, and what you see is a leader, like the leader of majority, you know, spewing venom on national TV in a church pulpit, insulting the deputy president and calling him a snake. I mean, what kind of ethics do we have? We are a country that says we want to develop. In Kenya, we have tourists that are also watching our news. We also have envoys from all over the country. What kind of image are we portraying to visitors? What kind of image are we portraying to our development partners when we as leadership continuously continue fighting each other? So I think it's really something that is totally irresponsible. And on the matter of the impeachment proposal against the deputy president, why would anyone, in their right mind think of impeaching the deputy president? What has he done wrong? He's given a role, and the role is to deputize his boss. It is only the president who can tell us whether there is any assignment he has given the deputy president that he was unable to fulfill. But you cannot start coming up with a motion because you want to block him for 2027. And I think, even if they do that, they will not have hurt him because he's going to serve for most of this term. And I can tell you, Ayub, I am very convinced that the Kenya Kwanza administration is a one-term government. So Rigathi will lose nothing even if they kick him out in the next 2 years because he will come back probably in the next regime and they will be out of office.
Okay. And what bearing can this have, Honorable Ochieng, on service delivery? Because look, the government promised the Kenyan people jobs to uplift those who are on the bottom end of the pyramid so that they can be the Kenyan people can feel the value of the shilling in their pocket, about jobs, decent income, then tax more. So what will happen in the midst of these mixed signals coming out of the Kenya Kwanza House about largely what appears to be a division driven by politics rather than issues that affect the common man?
Thank you so much, Ayub. The issue of Rigathi and his boss represents a deeper morass, a deeper problem with our politics. The politics that we keep pushing under the table, the politics of two communities. Mm-hmm. That's the problem we're having. Our constitution intended, when we wrote the deputy president into the constitution and said that this will have a security of tenure, we didn't want to show what had happened earlier, what you alluded to earlier, where Moi for almost 14 months didn't have a vice president. And in a point when he said, "Itaweka huyu tuone kama itaongeza sufuria ama ugali kwa." So the idea was to ensure that the deputy president has security of tenure. But the way we've gone around it has been very wrong. From the time Uhuru came in with William Ruto was not a deputy president. He was like a co-president in the first term. So even as you speak now, Gachagua wants to recreate Ruto of 2013, co-president, no deputy president. It represents something that is really bad with our country. That, yes, Kalenjins will one day sit up with Kikuyus, we agree, yaku kumi, yangu kumi. So where do the rest of us go? This is the problem we are having here. The issue is that this, and I say this with deep respect to the central community. Yeah. Kikuyus feel that this deputy presidency is theirs because they voted for William Ruto, not because William Ruto is president and was voted for by the rest of the country. Gachagua himself feels that I'm here because of Mount Kenya, not because of the country. Now, until that happens, and I pray one day, very earnestly on my knees, that in these coming elections, we don't have a Kikuyu or a Kalenjin president. So that this has to be sorted out. Otherwise, I can tell you, this will never end. This what you see, this ping pong you see, you will never end. Yeah. And what happens? So we're going to be treated to this kind of drama for the next 3 years. Okay. A lot of corruption is going on, as you know. There's so much being stolen, a lot of tribalism. You know, if, for example, you checked, we've employed in the last 3 years 46,000 teachers. If you check the ethnic composition of those teachers, you'll be shocked.
And the KRA matter of...
Yes, that's very recent. Okay. And if you check, so I'm just telling, because you asked about service, this is still service delivery. Yeah. Service delivery means human resources. So if out of every 10 appointments, 3 will go to Kalenjin land and 3 go to Central Kenya, I mean, how do you hope that you're going to build a country that's cohesive like that? You know, if you checked even the anatomy of corruption happening in this country, it's a two-community corruption because they're the ones running government. We should be clear about that, and we should not be pussyfoot about this. This is what's happening. It is a fight for resources. Okay. It's a fight, and so we're going to be treated this kind of drama for a while. Then come 2027, again they band together, the two communities. Tuache vita, tuunde serikali. It can't go on for so long. It has to stop at some point. And that's why I want to say, in my opinion this morning, that the president should stop mounting tops of cars every Saturday, Sunday, going out, talking about politics. Then he'll tell Gachagua to also stop politics. We want to see more of planning We want to see more of implementation. We want to see how we are going, because we cannot wake up every single morning, Ayub, with the news of Gachagua split in this and that. And I want to advise my erstwhile friend, the Honorable Majoshila Ichungwa. There's a time for everything. A time to build, and a time to destroy. A time for peace, and a time for war. This is a time to serve Kenyans. This is not a time to keep dividing us again along ethnic and those economic lines. So I would just wish that we adhere to the Constitution, and ensure that what was demanded of the Constitution is implemented.
Thank you.
It bleeds my heart, Ayub, to see members of parliament banding together, some members of parliament elected, saying that they're going to choose somebody to be their link to government. So what happened to the rest of the country?
But Honorable, I'll come to you, Fred. Ochieng, still on you, because the politics and why they are fighting, it's a non-issue, because here we focus on the Mwananchi affairs, and in respect to your respective positions is why we have you here, so that we can get your opinions on this. But the administration, you agree with me, cannot run away from, in the past 2 years, for being less than honest, and made public statements that were either transparently untrue or deeply misleading. Gachagua's case, for example, when he stood before the public and the world on Inauguration Day, he said that they inherited empty coffers. But that claim is untrue and misleading, because the government at the time had 3.025 trillion at its disposal from both ordinary revenues and taxes and appropriations in aid and grants as well. When he said that Kenya is a shareholding company and that the priority should be given to those who voted for it, he meant Mount Kenya and the Rift Valley. He was being cheered on. There were cheerleaders, including the president, who was dead silent about his deputy making such claims. And now there are these fissures. What then happens? Because this clearly is from the playbook of the Kenya Kwanza administration, and other governments as well in the past, that are placing childish obstacles in the way of Kenya developing to become a prosperous nation, where there are jobs, where there's decency, and where there's respect for the rule of law.
That's what I said, Ayub, really. If I was to say what I said, I would still respond to the question that we are having small minds running a very big corporation, in my opinion. We are having a situation where we've been bestowed with a very good opportunity to turn around the fortunes of our country. But what do you do every day? If you check, because you said I said in the budget committee, if you check the kind of money that we budget every year and how we are using that money, you cry. We don't intend, when you wake up in the morning, to serve Kenyans. No. In fact, the political class in this country, I included, wake up every day in the morning and think of how much can we steal from Kenyans? How much can we line our pockets with? How much can we pull from the public coffer to our own pockets? It is that plain. We are in a terrible situation. Kenyans are on their own.
How do you redeem yourselves?
That's what I've said severally here. That me, since 25th of June, and I've seen and I've talked to many Kenyans thinking about this. And I'm thinking about where I sit, whether I still have any value to play in politics of Kenya today. We, all of us as politicians, must think about, if you're going to continue engaging in Kenyan politics, what value can we add? If the only value we add is kicking the can along the road, then all of us must leave office in this coming election, that Kenyans can elect people to lead them.
If there is that culture of kicking the can down the road, then why don't you resign? Why wait for the next elections if you feel that you're not giving value to the Kenyan people?
Because I don't think the system that we have today, one single individual, for example, if I resign from Kenya, then another MP comes in today, into the same morass, I don't think it's going to create
based on moral authority.
No, I don't think it will add value to what I want to see happening. And that's why I told you that with the energy I have, I'm going to work in the coming election to ensure that we elect leaders who represent what Kenyans want them to look like.
Ayub, I want to say that one of the weakest links in this country, as far as these disputes are concerned, is the church. The church, some of the church leaders have deliberately given a platform to politicians to politic on a Sunday, broad daylight, while the padre, the bishop, and the pastor are seated cheering and nodding. That is unfortunate. You are a Muslim. Have you ever seen a politician in a mosque doing politics. I'm sure you have not seen that.
Not in my lifetime.
Not in your lifetime. So it has not happened. So why is it that the Christians, in their pursuit for power, they go to church and the church leaders offer the politician a platform to say what we have been seeing and watching? It's unfortunate. I talked about Rigathi, but now let me talk about the other leaders also who have been doing that. When the young people went to the streets...
The politicians, you mean also those from the party, the coalition that you do represent?
Both sides.
So in your view, there is wholesale use of the church pulpit
both sides.
To advance
and
polarization.
I'm a Christian myself, and I know for sure that I've witnessed church platforms being used to politic. Unfortunately, we thought that those days are gone. When the young people went out and said, we don't want politicians in church, come and pray, give your offering, and go home. And we saw that. But now, this is the return of the normal that is now becoming abnormal. We want to ask the leaders, go to church, pray, and go have your rally outside. But when you use the church platform to condemn and disparage others, then it's unfortunate. We know their weaknesses. We know the leadership of this country today is undergoing challenges. But as a people of Kenya, we can work together to secure our lives. We can work together to provide the basic needs for our people. We can work together to ensure that the promises that were made are delivered. Today, we are in the midterm. This government had got 15 themes that they promised the people of Kenya to be delivered in first 100 days, 1 year, midterm, and long term. We are in the midterm today. If I ask you, are the people of Kenya happy about some of the promises? They'll say no. The president has demonstrated that he is willing to do some of these things. But look, if within his own government, within his own formation, there is a fight that is distracting people from service delivery, as Honorable Cheng is saying, then for sure in the next 3 years, we are not going to see any service delivered. That's why we are saying the utterances that Rigathi used to make of, shares, people of shares, those ones should go, and now it should focus on service delivery. Luckily, they have experts now helping them. We would want to see a government that is inclusive.
Who are these experts?
I am saying they have experts because we have been told they're experts. I'm sure you're aware. Are you aware about that?
Who are they, to be specific?
When the broad-based government was formed, you saw those statements. Did you see that? Yes, you did.
All the time there are technocrats in government.
I'm not talking about technocrats. There's a difference between technocrats and experts.
It's plain language. I mean, to just give you one component, there are more than 5 advisors on economy at State House alone.
Now, that was even another problem. Because if you look at the statement from advisor, are they advising the president or they are misleading the president? If an advisor of the president can say that we will leave this government as corrupt as we found it, while the president is saying we want to fight corruption. We are against corruption. What are you telling me? Are those the technocrats?
Allow me then to ask you this.
We'd rather have the expert than the technocrat who misadvised.
Allow me to ask you this, Fred. In their side, CPA John Mbadi, an accountant professional, is leading the National Treasury.
As a CS.
And other 3 key members of the ODM party in the name of Oparanya Joho and CS Wandai. In the remaining 3 years, having given a negative scorecard of the administration, how will these key members of the coalition that you represent, who hail from there, help the government in achieving some of the plan they have under the plan?
Let me tell you, Ayub, it is not within my pay grade to assess Honorable Wandai. It is not within my pay grade to assess Honorable Joe. It is not within my pay grade to assess Honorable Mbadi. They are professionals in their own rights, and they were appointed on the basis of their suitability and competency, approved by the 3 gentlemen here in Parliament. So I will not talk about that.
Do you think they will deliver? Do you think they will deliver?
I pray they deliver. But I will talk about our country in general. Our country in general do not need any distraction at this time. Our country in general do not need anything that is going to move us from the path to success. I am saying that when we see the fight between the executive members, among the executive members, between 2 arms, 3 arms of government, as you have seen, then that fight will derail us. I am a Kenyan and a patriotic one for that matter. I believe in this country. We don't have any other country. Okay. When we look at election that is coming and we start seeing formations, we start seeing wars, we start seeing people identifying themselves as we are from East, we are from West, what will some of us who come from the Nyanza say? Will we say that we are from Nyanza? We want a country that is united. We want a country that has one president. We want a country that has one leader. We want a country that all the leaders that are working under him are supportive. Some of us believe that everyone has his time. If our time comes, it will come. But for now, we are seeing a situation where there's deliberate attempt to put this country down. You know, we might be in the opposition, but we don't wish this country bad. But we want this country to succeed.
But Fred, we always have one president at any given time, and we always had a country called Kenya, which is... Let me just finish the point. Let me just finish the point. If you talk about unity, when the mandate is handed over to President X, it's upon that president and his presidency to cater for the aspect of inclusivity and the representation of Kenya. And it seems there is a failure on that part. Given, if you look at the cabinet composition, if you look at appointments to state parastatals and what's playing out in the public. And the point is that the current government, the previous governments, openly plan these things in public. There's no shadow about it. It's then therefore flimsy, is it, if you turn to the point that there's something about unity when those who are given the mandate are failing whilst Kenyans are watching them.
I agree with you, Ayub, and as I finish very shortly, I believe that every government must reflect the regional and ethnic diversity of the people of Kenya. And therefore, the president that we have today, President William Ruto, must make it his duty to ensure that the government he runs reflects the regional and ethnic diversity of the people of Kenya, so that we don't have those. We don't want any issue of anything of shares. Number two, it is the duty of the president to unite this country. Is a symbol of national unity. But if the president is the symbol of national unity and his deputy appears to be a symbol of national disunity, then what are you trying to tell me? You have said that we have always have one president.
Yes, yeah.
I don't agree with you, because Honorable Cheng talked about co-presidency. When you go into a negotiation, political negotiation, to contest the office of presidency, you go and look for a deputy, or you nominate a deputy that you believe can bring you votes so that you win because of the numbers. That's what we have been seeing before. Okay. And when that happens, you realize that the deputy that you bring on board would want to share government with you. And they've always talked about 50-50. That is why we cannot talk about a one president. We have seen people trying to explain that this is a co-presidency we shared. It has never been there. It is not there in law. It is not there on constitution. So my issue is... We want to see this country stabilize. Our economy is melting. The people out there are suffering. Let me tell you, Ayub. If people don't know, the people out there are suffering. They have no food. The cost of living is ever going up. The taxes are ever going up. We have a government that promised them certain measures. That government is struggling. We know it is struggling. When people come out to help, then it is only fair that we give them an opportunity. But even in doing so, we must reflect as people, as leaders, as politicians. What can we do together to ensure that in the coming election, we don't fall in the same place?
And two critical members of your coalition lead two critical dockets. That's the National Treasury and Energy, which will pertain to cost of living. And by the way, no political negotiations that are pre-planned before the elections supersede the Constitution. Correct. Because the Constitution establishes the presidency, and there are the other factors as to how that can be run within the period of the 5 years.
You know, first and foremost, I want to confirm that those members that you've talked about went to serve the Kenya Kwanza regime and to implement the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, not the Azimio manifesto. So basically, they're not there on our behalf. Our leader, Raila, said that they went in their own individual capacities, so maybe that is something we need to note. But I Honorable Ochieng
individual capacity without the tacit consent of Odinga and the ODM party?
I don't know. You know, I have heard many things. I have heard, you know, we are blowing hot and cold. I'm just, you know, I will also say in my pay grade, I am not a principal in the Azimio coalition.
Yes.
But I've heard our principals say different things. So I don't know. But I'm
and
just saying that where I sit,
and you believe, Honorable Mbui, given your experience in Parliament, given your experience as a representative of Kathiani constituency, that two deputy party leaders of the ODM party, a chairman and a nominated MP, 4 critical players, went to serve in government without the tacit consent of ODM and the Odinga and ODM?
That is ODM. I was speaking about Azimio.
You said he is your coalition leader. That's why I'm putting you on.
Azimio through Wiper. So I don't know. I think if there's a decision made in ODM, that would be different. But basically, they are actually implementing the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza, not Azimio. So I wouldn't even know exactly what they're doing, because some of the things that Azimio was, Kenya Kwanza was doing, we didn't think were right, like the Hustler Fund. Suddenly, our members who have gone that side think the Hustler Fund is an excellent idea. So I don't know whether they will even agree to excessive taxation. But the Honorable Ochieng has talked about weak parliament. And I want to say that, you know, the weaker parliament is, the better it is for the executive at any time, because the executive doesn't want a strong parliament. And you challenged him to resign. I wouldn't advise that. David Ochieng, there are few members just like you and me. And we can get together and see if we can, you know, whatever, even if we are 10 of us, 20 of us, 30 of us, let us make our voices heard. Because in the absence of at least a sober voice in the House, then you can imagine the kind of mess that we'll be in as a country. But you know what I think, Ayub, is that a lot of what is happening, I think, is a smoke screen. If you read the 48 laws of power, you realize that one of the laws is that if you want to do something, you create a smoke screen. Lead people in the wrong direction for a long time, focus on something that is non-existent while you're doing what you really wanted to do. Why is it there is so much hullabaloo about, the deputy president, and nobody's telling us what the fight is about? Kimani calls him a snake, but he doesn't say what did he take, what did he do wrong, you know? We have all this thing of David D issuing a statement that is very annoying to the general public, especially those Kenyans on Twitter and on X Space and all that. And they're so annoyed. So what is it that we are focused? Why is it that there is a deliberate attempt to pull our attention to certain issues? I think it's because of two major issues. One is the mess that occurred during the period of the demonstrations, because they are still missing people. A lot of Kenyans were killed, and that story is supposed to die. People should stop talking about it. People should stop focusing on that. And secondly, the issue of corruption. I mean, look, you've heard of this story of this Indian company that is being given rights to take over our airport. And then we come to realize the same individuals are again taking over our energy sector. And we are being given stories about how it is public-private partnerships. And I'm thinking to myself, of all the corporations in the world, because it is open to everyone in the world, the whole world, only one Indian company is the one that manages to get into the space of energy in this country and into the space of coming up with new airports, and no one else has any interest. You know, I mean, those are the kind of things that we should be focusing on. Not to forget, they've also, in the same arrangements, under the table, given out a deal for someone to start printing money. And we have a company that we had contracted long ago called Delarue that had even set up space in somewhere in near GSU headquarters in Ruaraka. But suddenly, even though they have the infrastructure, a German company has been identified to be the one that does this. So I think the biggest problem is that people are taking us in the direction they want us to focus so that they can mint money. The biggest problem in this country now is corruption.
And who are the
people? We must... Of course, they're shadowy characters, Ayub. You know, the biggest problem with the shadowy characters is that you cannot even put a face and a name to them. But they are in existence because these deals are opaque. The CS for transport went to Senate. We were on recess. He went to Senate. He couldn't even be able to give information because he kept hiding behind the sub judice rule that there's a case in court. In the same evening, he was here on Citizen TV.
Okay.
You know, after now he had put together answers for the Senate that he wanted Kenyans to hear. So I think the biggest problem we are facing is corruption.
Okay.
That's the thing we have to fight with David Ochieng in the House.
Yes, Honorable Peter Kihonge, is this a diversionary tactic from the government on other pressing matters, as pointed out by your colleague in Parliament?
No, I don't think so, because somehow, honestly, it's as if the discontent between the president and the deputy, and mostly those people who are close to the president from Mount Kenya, led by the leader majority, is real. That thing is real. It's not just diversionary. That thing is real. But I want to beg my people, maybe the Kenyans, and first of all, maybe I can apologize on behalf of the deputy president, maybe on the issues to do the shares. Those are teething problems for somebody who comes to power, maybe from a background where maybe he had not foreseen it. Because the deputy president, if you could have checked, he was prepared maybe to run for Nyeri governor. But now, all of a sudden, now the president now wants to pick somebody from Central Province, and he was picked. But if you can judge the deputy president of late, he has been very careful on choosing his words.
But Honorable Kihungi, the deputy president was a long-term administrator who understood how government functions under the Moi government. He was a personal assistant to Uhuru Kenyatta for a very long time. He served as a lawmaker representing Madeira constituency, though on only one term. And then he became the deputy president. So he's not a novice for him to make such a statements.
No, there are those mistakes
with the office that he holds, which is supposed to espouse national unity.
I agree, but one thing is that we run in through experience. And I think of late, if you can judge him, he has been very choosy on his words. And I think this is the way to go. And as we are saying, we need to bring the country together so that we can focus on development. Because I pity the president, because he has a role to do for this country because of the issues of economy and the promises we made to our people. But if we preoccupy his might on this fight, the president will not have time to concentrate on the delivery of services. And therefore, it's my prayer that now we have the broad-based government, whereby you can see the deputy president has welcomed it, and we have good people. Me, I have a lot of confidence with Buddy. I have a lot of confidence with Adai. I have been with him in a committee. And there are people who are focused, who can be able to add value to the government. Therefore, what I could wish to call upon us is that let's not now focus too much on what has happened, the mistakes that has been done. Let's try to focus what can we be able to deliver for this country and be able to help our Kenyans. Kenyans doesn't want these fights. Kenyans want a sober economy that can be able to help them do business, those who are in business, can be able to assist like the issues of education, can be able to help those people of the issues to do with employment. I think what Kenyans want to hear from the leaders, and whenever they open a TV station, they want to hear the strides the government has made on making Kenya a good place for them. And therefore, I think the past, let's take it by guns, and mostly let us focus now on how we can be able to stabilize the economy of this country and to make a good environment for Kenyans politically and economically.
And one clarion call Kenyans had, and you parliamentarians were dead against it, especially those who voted for the Finance Bill 2024, was its rejection. But Parliament passed it. You voted yes or no?
Yeah, I voted yes.
Yes. And you knew that the people of Kangema, as well the people of Kenya, said these are punitive proposals contained in the now rejected bill. You went into Parliament, dead against their calls, and passed a bill that they deemed is not going to serve their interests. I mean, it seems there's the collective failure by parliamentarians, especially those who voted for that bill, of failing to listen to the Kenyan people. Yet, you draw power from them, and all sovereign power belongs to them, but you don't listen to whatever that bothers them. It's only what serves your selfish interest as politicians.
We listened. If you could have gone through the amended finance bill, there were a lot of things that were removed from the one that came from executive. There were a lot of amendments. And furthermore, we have been exonerated by the Azimio guys who have come. They have said it was politics. Therefore, for us, we had facts.
Politics in terms of?
It was just about fighting the government and the government agenda.
So all the young people who poured on the streets came to Parliament where you guys were?
Those are verbatim from Buddy and from Wandai. And they say that the issue of finance bill, Buddy said it, the issue of finance bill even can be revisited because this country needs money for development and whatever. Therefore, we had amended a lot of things that Kenyans had raised. but we are not given time to explain. And also the government also,
Kihonge,
yeah.
I mean, this is a people-centered show as well.
Yeah.
So I'm asking you the question because you are a representative of the Kenyan people. Therefore, it's a privilege having you here so that we seek answers and better our democracy.
Yeah.
The point is that, yes, the country needs money, but you also appreciate that a lot is stolen from this country.
Yeah.
Then which means if you can address corruption through the budget loopholes, where you, a budget committee member is here, because the control of budget says that there is budgeted for corruption. And Parliament is very key in the 4 stages of the budget making process, where you can identify the red flags that institutions such as that of the control of budget can point out and straighten our financial coffers. If you steal those loopholes, tie the taps. But you are not doing that. Then you bring very punitive proposals containing the finance bill. Kenyans say, no, don't pass it. This will have more pressure on us. Then the young people who feel that their parents at home have their slimming pay slips. No longer, it's not about 3 meals a day, it's 2. The parents say, no, we can't afford. Then the young generation says, okay, then we protest, they come out. And you say that is politics?
No, I think the element of democracy in Kenya is in another level, and that was the best expression for the young people. But one thing I have to say is that it's not that all was not well with the finance bill. There were a lot of issues that were there to help our people on issues to do tax amnesty. There were a lot of things that were very favorable also to Kenyans. What I want to say is that as the legislature from Kangema, I told them I had to apologize maybe for going maybe against their wish. But the content that was in finance bill also, it was not all bad. But now, now that we have the broad-based government, we need now to come up with 11 new correction measures. And you still see, they will still work on that route.
Okay.
They will still work on that route.
Thank you. Yes. Honorable Ochangas also respond. How then can we, in the midst of this crisis, also attend to the very issue that requires your attention as lawmakers, the Adani deal, JKIA, and the energy, which yesterday a public participation happened to that effect?
The Adani deal. You know, we've lived through various scandals in this country. You know, from the first government, 63 to date. Now, the new system called PPP. It's a law we passed in this parliament. We amended a few things in it's been a law passed last parliament. We amended a few things in it. But I believe that we are approaching the PPP framework the wrong way. Because we need first to inspire public confidence in a new system. We are saying that we want to try to develop our assets through public-private partnerships, but we've not developed proper systems, proper capacities for negotiations, proper systems for implementation and execution. And so I think we are rushing. Like the airport deal, Ayub. The airport deal has all the hallmarks of what would go wrong. All the hallmarks of what would go wrong. And if I was governing today, I would stop it totally. Regardless of whether Adani is innocent or not, I would say, no, let's build our capacity first on PPPs. Initially, who is negotiating? Do they have capacity? Or are they negotiating for? If Kenyans have raised an issue with Adani as a company at Ketraco or at the airport, what are they saying? You know, under the new framework of the Constitution, and this I say with a lot of respect also, the country, what Kenyans are saying now is they don't care about those roads or airports you're talking about. They care about the software, what we wrote in Article 10 of the Constitution. That's what Kenyans care about now. Are we being listened to? Are we being running government transparently? Are we running a government that is not ethnically oriented? Are we living on the ethos that we set upon ourselves in 2010? No, that is what Kenyans are talking about. In fact, let me tell you, you could miss to build a road, You could miss to build an airport. You could miss to build maybe a bridge somewhere. But if Kenyans believe that you are tackling these software issues, and I wish this government would take its time, let's not move as if Kenyans are not speaking to us. Kenyans are talking, and Kenyans are saying, we want you to fight for us, not to fight for yourselves and fight each other. Kenyans are saying that on matters that concern us, consult us, listen to us, do proper, genuine, intended public participation. And so, I believe from where I sit, because, I mean, when I went to school, I did PPPs. And I can tell you, Ayub, there's everything that is mucky and wrong with the PP deals we are doing today. Not just JKIA, not just Ketraco, and everything else. You've heard about the independent power producers, how they're working with us. Everything that we're doing today on PPPs is based on the wrong premise. They must be stopped so that we start afresh. Finally, before we move out of the other situation, Ayub, is that the president must read the right act to his team. We've fought for too long now. We cannot have a situation where the president goes to a function, some MPs come and abuse the deputy president, the deputy president goes to a function, some MPs come and abuse those around the president, and it's business as usual. No, we must adult up. We must show leadership. We must give our people the confidence that the Ruto government are people who know what they're supposed to do and what the law says. We must start making Kenyans believe that we have a government that cares for them.
All right, gentlemen, let's now sample the feedback. I'll give you the final word here on the broadcast. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadil. Jim Rose says President Ruto and the DP are still all the same. In 2017, Ruto was all over campaigning for 2022 general elections, hence the name Tanga Tanga. Gachagua, on the other hand, is doing the same, but is doing it locally, Mount Kenya region. Wanjeku anachezwa. Godi Barasawari says Ruto is reneging on a pledge he made that will not fight his deputy president the way Uhuru did to him. This administration's focus is slowly moving away from service delivery to petty politics. Okele Mwalimu says the DP is good reader of DP Ruto's script book, albeit in snippets. He does not miss an opportunity to apply DP Ruto's policy of creating opposition within the government. When he missed the president's event, he followed in the footprint of his mentor. It's a messy affair. Sam Masika says the MPs of Mount Kenya lost legitimacy with the people. Them choosing Kindiki over Rigathi is just like the Finance Bill 2024. Their sycophancy and desire to please their president has blinded them. Rigathi was elected. Let them ask the people. Sanixon Degure says it's time for great and responsible leaders to undergo mental checkup. It may be assumed they are okay, but if you scrutinize their actions and verbatim, you'll notice something is very wrong, which might cause havoc to those being led. Okelo Mwalimu says it has become evident that the problem bedeviling our security system is a systemic one. Acting Police IG is a beneficiary of a returned security system that gives such an office holder sweeping powers. Fixing problem requires a relook at the entire governance system. Frank Orinde says Masengeli's refusal to attend court proceedings and the withdrawal of Justice Mugambi's security is an act of defiance, intimidation and arrogance, and this can't be allowed to continue. It's a confirmation that the police are aware of the abductions and extrajudicial killings. Sam Masika again says Masengeli is an epitome of our problems in Kenya. He shouldn't be holding such an office if he is not willing to obey court orders. Most police officers are stuck in the past. Snobbish, the court 7 times is inexcusable. Esawe says it's quite ironic that Ruto is now urging leaders to focus on service delivery, considering he himself laid the groundwork for early political campaigns. 2 years into his administration, he's still out making lofty promises from the campaign-like trail. There seems to be a clever plot hatched to paint Masengeli as unfit to hold office. The IG under whose reign more atrocities happened is still alive. Why can't he be questioned instead of pursuing Masengeli, who is the acting IG? Agomba Steve says the Mount Kenya legislators have decided to make Kenya a hotbed of politics despite having still more years to the elections. The power dramas between Professor Kithure Kindiki and the Deputy President Gachagua are a simple indication of a failed relationship heading to divorce. Let Mount Kenya leaders relax. Q4 Roba says there is really no beef between William Samoei Ruto and Rigiji. These are all political games. Using deception and proxies has become the campaign strategy for the president. He is damn so good at that. Anyway, we really don't care about their fights. We are tired, according to that viewer. Also, this is in relation to that feedback. Steve Juma says, now that the government has removed the security detail assigned to Justice Lawrence Mugambi, the Chief Justice Martha Koome should direct the judiciary to refrain from hearing or adjudicating on any cases before them by police. It's time to assert judicial authority and not be stifled. Fred, your final remarks?
Thank you, Ayub. I think Kenyans want to move forward, and they want to move forward in the right direction. They don't want to move forward and they move back again. Number two, the president has admitted that his team failed him in the communication. And he has said that there are certain things that ought to have been communicated well. Today you can see he has appointed another task force to relook at the funding model. It means the model was never communicated well. It appears that it's only the president who can communicate it. Number three, the PSS and the CSS, the president has admitted that some of them did not do a good job in helping him deliver the services. Okay. We hope that we look into that. And lastly, I want to believe that the people of Kenya are watching whatever is happening. We are in a country where right now everything is delicate. People are frustrated. You look at the number of accidents happening. People walk around the road, they just collapse. People are dying. Okay. We want to be honest with ourselves, humble ourselves, and do the very best. Don't hurt each other. But the best we can do, even in government, whether we are in government or not, let's work towards a goal that is for prosperity, a goal that will ensure that all of us succeed at the long run.
Okay, thank you very much. Mine, first of all, is to thank the Kangema residents for giving me this opportunity to be here. Secondly, is that the issue of PPP, I think it still will be the way to go. As Ocheng has put it, we need to fine-tune it so that I think it can be seamless, transparent, and because if you look at like Expressway was a PPP program whereby maybe the government could not have afforded to deliver, because even though there are issues of politics, we must build this country. And I think even the issue of airport, the issue of power, because the resources are scarce, we must try to look on the issue of PPP, because the issue of PPP also, it brings the issue of value for money. Okay. Because like Eurobond, you can't see anything that the Eurobond did. But when there's a PPP is being implemented, the person, because he wants return of his investment, he's very careful to make sure that he invests something that he will deliver. Therefore, on PPP, I call upon Parliament that we try to fine-tune it. But I think that's the best way to go. Yes, Honorable Mbwe.
Yeah, I think we need to fix the country for the future. You remember our Gen Zs were in the streets. We need to fix it.
They were in Parliament too.
And they were in Parliament. And we also need to fix it for the generation after also. But you know, for us to begin to fix the country, we have to deal with the issue of corruption. And the corruption exists where there is opaqueness and secrecy. Two areas. One is when you have deals like these public-private partnership deals that are not transparent and nobody knows exactly what the deal is. We have to deal with those. And two, when we have issues of emergencies. Now we have this MPOX issue. I hear there's 6.7 billion that is supposed to be spent. It's going to be an emergency issue, so we'll never get to know exactly who's going to spend the money and how. That's what happened in COVID, and we made COVID billionaires. We hope that in this particular one, they don't try to steal our money. We'll be watching.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Bochen.
Yeah, just please, someone tell Masengeli that respect and adherence to the orders of the courts are not optional. These are things that are not optional. These are things that they must just do. And as we go out today, and to applaud Kenyans for civic engagement, let's continue doing this. Let's continue holding this government to account so that we as a country can grow together.
Gentlemen, your time is appreciated. Many thanks for your presence here. Robert Mbui is the lawmaker representing Kadhiani constituency. Thank you for your time. Peter Kihongi, MP, Kangema constituency, thank you for your time. Fred Okango, Secretary, Political Affairs, Azimio Coalition, thank you. And Honorable David Ochieng, Ugenya, Member of Parliament and a member of the Budget Committee of the National Assembly. Of course, you guys are getting back to work today as Parliament resumes. A lot to think about, including the reconstitution of the IEBC and many pending matters at the best interests of the Kenyan people. All the very best, and thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good day.
Thanks to you too for working up with us here on the broadcast. The hashtag on X has been Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Up next is Social Hour with Safin Achieng Oma and her team, QT Roberta and CJ Atemo. And I'll see you tomorrow morning here on the broadcast as we discuss further the rule of law under President William Ruto's 2-year of his time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then. Good morning.